Hello, periods 1, 4, and 6. So this is going to be a video to review graphing in slope-intercept form because we are going to need to remember how to do this to be able to start systems of equations on Friday when I return. So slope-intercept form is this: y equals mx plus b. And hopefully you remember m stands for slope and b stands for y-intercept, which means where does the line cross the y-axis? We always graph the y-intercept first, and then we graph the slope. And the slope is always a fraction, which stands for rise over run. The top number tells us how far to go up and down, and the run tells us how far to go left and right. All right, so that was just a quick refresher on the formula. So now let's start doing some problems to review. You need your notes page out. It actually says at the top, it says in class review graphing slope-intercept form. Okay, so once you have that, and if you do not have one, you need to ask the sub for one now. We will begin, and I'll be doing each problem on the video with you. As I do it on the video, I would like you to do it on your notes page. Tonight, your homework will be a worksheet that is very similar to it, so that's why these notes will be very helpful. Okay, here's problem number 1, the same that's on your paper. This says y equals 5x minus 1. So what we need to discuss first is we want to put this equation in slope-intercept form. And we just talked about on the previous screen, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So if I look at my equation, y equals 5x minus 1, in fact, I'm going to put it right underneath the formula. Is my given equation in slope-intercept form? The answer is yes. So you will notice that the m and the 5 pair up. So the slope is 5, but we need to make it a fraction. So m is 5 over 1. So I'm going to put 5 over 1 for m. And then if you look at the b matches up with the negative 1. So my b is 0, negative 1, because we have to make it an ordered pair. So my y-intercept is 0, negative 1. And on the previous screen, we talked about we are going to graph the y-intercept first. And the y-intercept is on the y-axis, and the y-axis is the vertical line. So 0, negative 1, if I start at the origin and I go down 1, and I'm going to put a point, there's my first point on my line. And then my slope, if I look at 5 over 1, the 5 tells me to go up 5, and the 1 tells me to go right 1, because slope is always rise over run, and the rise is the up and down, and the run is the left and right. So if I go back to my first point, y equals negative 1, and I rise 5, so I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I go right 1, and I put a point. There's my first point on my line. And way back when we did this the first time, I told you you had to have 5 points, or as many as you could get on the graph. So for my new blue point, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right 1. So here's my third point on my line. Of course, I can't go any farther up and right, so I'm going to go back to my red point. And instead of going up 5 and right 1, that's the same as going down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and left 1. And if I go down 5 and left 1 again, I would be off the graph. So now I'm ready to connect all my dots, and I should get a line because I am graphing linear equations. So there's problem number 1. Okay, moving on to problem number 2, y equals negative 2/5 x. So again, if I write my formula, y equals mx plus b. M is whatever's in front of x, and then b is my constant or my number in the back of equation. Well, if you notice, I don't have a b in this problem, so technically there's an imaginary plus 0. So if I look what is in front of the x in my equation, it's negative 2/5, so my slope is negative 2/5. And my y-intercept is the 0 that I just plugged in. So my y-intercept is 0, 0. And again, we always graph the y-intercept first. So 0, 0 is actually the origin, so I'm going to put a spot on the origin. And then the slope is negative 2/5, so that means I'm going to go down 2, and I'm going to go right 5 from my first y-intercept. So I'm going to go down 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to go right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is my next point on my line. I'm going to do it again. So down 2 from the red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my third point on my line, and I want 5. So I'm going to go back to my blue point, and I'm going to go, instead of down 2 and right 5, that's the same as going up 2, left 5. Here's my fourth point on my line, and I think I can fit one more. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'd be right here. So here's my 5 points on my line. I'm ready to connect them and make a straight line. There is the line. Y equals negative 2/5 x plus 0. And remember, we talked about if the slope is negative, it's going downhill. So if you look at my line, it's going downhill. So that's a good first check. All right, so problem number 3 says 3y equals negative 4x plus 3. So as always, I'm going to write down my formula, y equals mx plus b. Now I want you to look at the equation that I gave you. The y has to be by itself, but it's not because it has a 3 in front of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my equation, 3y equals negative 4x plus 3. So the question is, how can I get that y all by itself so it doesn't have the 3 with it? Well, that's 3 times y, so the opposite of 3 times y is divide by 3. So I'm going to divide this by 3, and if I divide one side of an equation, I have to divide the other side by 3. All right, so what happens here? The 3's cancel out, and I'm left with y, which is what I want. Now, over here, this is technically negative 4 over 3x. And plus 3 over 3, because the 3 goes with both parts of the right-hand side of the equation. So there's nothing I can do to negative 4/3 x. I'm going to write that down, negative 4/3 x. But if I look at 3 over 3, I can simplify that to positive 1. So this is going to become plus 1. So my equation is y equals negative 4/3 x plus 1, which is now in slope-intercept form. So again, if I look, my y-intercept is 1, and my slope, whatever's in front of the x, is negative 4/3. So here is my m, here is my b. So if I go up here, slope is negative 4/3, and my y-intercept is 1, so 0, 1. That green doesn't show up very good, so I'm going to go back over it with red so you can see it better. So 0, 1. And again, I always plot the y-intercept first. So 0, 1, the y-axis, I'm going to go up. I'm going to go 0 left and right, and I'm going to go up 1. So here's my y-intercept. And then if I look at my slope, negative 4/3, the negative 4 tells me to go down, and the 3 tells me to go right. So from my 0, 1, my y-intercept, I'm going to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go right 3. Here's my first point on my line. I'm going to do it again. So 1, 2, 3, 4 down, right 3 to the right. There's my third point on my line. Now, if I kept going, I'm going to go off the graph. So instead of down 4 and right 3, I could go up 4 and left 3. So I'm going to go back to my red, and I'm going to go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, left 3. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, left 3. And I have 5 dots on my line, so I'm going to take and I'm going to draw a line through all of them to show my negative slope line, y equals negative 4/3 x plus 1. right, so here's problem number 4. Y equals 7. That's a line. Well, if I write down my formula, y equals mx plus b, and I look at my given line, I don't have an x. So what I have to do is, I'm not going to put an x by the 7. I'm going to put in, what could I put in to make my equation not change, but add an x? It becomes y equals 0x, because I don't have an x. And then, of course, the plus 7 is going to go in back. So technically, y equals 7 is y equals 0x plus 7. Okay, so my slope is whatever's in front of x, which is 0. But I need to make that a fraction. So 0 would be 0 over 1. And then my y-intercept is whatever is lined up with the b, which is 7. So my y-intercept is 0, positive 7. Okay, so here's my y-axis. I'm going to go from left and right 0. I'm going to go up to 7 because my y-intercept is always on my y-axis. If I look at my slope, it says up 0, right 1. So from my red point, I'm going to go up 0, right 1. That means it's right here. And up 0, right 1 means I'm right here. Up 0, right 1, right here. Up 0, right 1, right here. So it's a special line with a 0 slope. If you remember, that would be a horizontal line. Horizontal lines have 0 slope. It's flat. All right, so we're on the back of the paper now, and we're on number 5, y equals 4 plus 3x. And again, as always, I'm going to write my formula, y equals mx plus b. So if I look at y equals 4 plus 3x and y equals mx plus b, the only thing that's wrong is my 3x and my 4 are backwards. So I need to rewrite my given equation, y equals 4 plus 3x. I need to write y equals, and I'm going to turn around 4 plus 3x. I'm going to make it 3x plus 4. And then it's like the formula. So if you notice, the m and the 3 are in the same position, and the b and the 4 are in the same position. So my y-intercept is 0, 4, and my slope is 3, which I need to make that a fraction. It's 3 over 1. All right, we always graph the y-intercept first. It's on the y-axis. 0, 4, that means I go left and right 0, and I go up 4. My slope is 3 over 1, that means I go up 3, right 1. So from my first blue point, I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, whoops, 1, 2, 3, right 1, here I am. Again, up 1, 2, 3, right 1. Or the same thing as up 3, right 1 is down 3, left 1. So from my blue point, I could have gone down 3, 1, 2, 3, left 1. Down 1, 2, 3, left 1. And I always have to have 5 points if I can. So if I connect all my points, whoa, that would have been a little straighter, would have been nice. I think my pen got funny there. Okay, so there is the equation, y equals 4 plus 3x. Notice the slope is 3 over 1, positive, which means my line should be going uphill, which it is. All right, so number 6, 4x plus 3y, or sorry, 4x plus 6y equals negative 6. Well, if I write my formula, y equals mx plus b, and I write my equation, 4x plus 6y equals negative 6, my formula and my equation look nothing alike. So this is where I got to do some rearranging, which we've done this before, but it's been a while. So I'm going to circle the y, and I'm going to tell myself I want to get the y by itself. Most likely you're going to want to touch the 6 first, which you're not. First thing we're going to do is, this is a positive 4x, so we're going to subtract 4x from both sides. And way back when we talked about, you can't actually take on that right side negative 6 minus 4x. They're not like terms. So right now this is what I have, 6y. And because I want to be in the order of the formula, I'm not going to write negative 6 minus 4x. I'm going to write negative 4x minus 6, because that looks like my formula at the top of the page. but I need the y by itself. So to get the y by itself, I've got to divide here by 6, which means I also have to divide this side by 6. So on the left-hand side, when you take 6y divided by 6, you get y, which is what we want. Now, if I look at this first term here, it's negative 4x over 6, and I need to say to myself, what can I reduce that by? Which I can reduce it by 2. So this becomes negative 2/3 x. And then my second term is negative 6 over 6. That simplifies to negative 1. So the equation that I began with, 4x plus 6y equals negative 6, transformed or changed into y equals negative 2/3 x minus 1. Now it looks like my formula at the top of the page. So what's in front of x is m. So in front of x is negative 2/3. And what is in the same position as a b? That's negative 1. So my y-intercept is 0, negative 1. All right, so I'm ready to graph the y-intercept. So I'm going to go to the y-axis, and I'm going to go 0 left and right, 1 down. And my slope is negative 2 over 3, so that means down and right. So I'm going to go from the blue to down 2, and I'm going to go right 3. Here's my first point. I'm going to go down 2, right 3. Here's my second point. Down 2, right 3. Here's my third point, but I need 4. So if I look back at the blue point, what else besides down 2 and right 3? I can go up 2. So 1, 2, left 3. Here is my fifth point on my line. So connect the points, and there is the line 4x plus 6y equals negative 6. All right, problem number 7, 2y equals 8 plus x. So, as always, I'm going to write my formula, y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to write my equation, 2y equals 8 plus x underneath it. Do those two look alike? The answer you should be saying is no. So, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this 2y equals x plus 8. Does that look more like my formula? Yes, except for I need y by itself, and y is not by itself. So I need to divide this side by 2 to get y by itself, which means I need to divide this side by 2. So when I take 2 divided by 2, that's 1, which means I just get y. Over here, this is what you have to imagine. There's an imaginary 1 here. So this is 1x over 2. Can I reduce anything? No. So that's just 1/2 x. My second term is plus 8 over 2. Well, 8 over 2 is 4, so this is plus 4. So here is my m, here is my b. So my slope is 1/2, and my b is 0, 4. Okay, ready to graph? So my y-intercept, y-axis, I go 0 left and right. I'm going to go 4 up, so there's my y-intercept. Okay, this time my slope is 1/2, so that means I'm going to go up and I'm going to go right. So I'm going to go from the red, I'm going to go up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. I've already got 5 points. I didn't even have to do the opposite, but I could have, instead of up 1, right 2, I could have gone back to the red. I could have gone down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2. You can go either way. All right, again, I'm ready to connect my points. And again, I can't seem to draw a straight line. Okay, I think this has to do with my what am I holding? My stylus. It's very weird. It doesn't like me. Okay, so there's problem number 7. All right, one more. Not problem 7. No, that was problem 7. Okay, last one, but of course it involves the most work. So I'm going to write my formula as always, y equals mx plus b. Then I'm going to write my equation, negative 3x minus 4y equals negative 8. And of course that looks nothing like my formula. So I want to think about how can I get this y by itself? And I can't touch the negative 4 yet. I need to get rid of the negative 3x first. So if it's a negative 3x, I'm going to add 3x to both sides. And these cancel out, and I get negative 4y equals, and remember on the other problem previously we said we can't take negative 8 plus 3x, so I want to write it so it looks like the formula. So instead of writing negative 8 plus 3x, I'm going to write 3x minus 8. So notice the formula, y equals mx plus b. I have negative 4y equals 3x minus 8, so I'm close. All right, so to get the y by itself, I'm going to divide by negative 4, which means I'm going to divide everything over here by negative 4. So these cancel out and I get y. If you look at 3x over negative 4, can I do anything to that? No. So my term for x is negative 3/4 x. Now, if I look at negative 8 over negative 4, that reduces to positive 2. So my new equation is y equals negative 3/4 x plus 2. What's in front of x is m, and what's in the back with called a constant, that's my b. So my slope is negative 3/4, and my y-intercept is 0, 2. Okay. Again, I'm going to plot my 0, 2 first, so I'm going to go up to 2, put a point. Negative 3 means go down, and 4 means go right. So I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, right, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's point 1. Down 3, 1, 2, 3, right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't go any farther, so instead of down 3 and right 4, I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3. Left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time, up 1, 2, 3, left 1, 2, 3, 4. And once again, my stylus does not like these problems. It doesn't like to make a straight line. Okay, there, that's better. All right, and there is my line, negative 3x minus 4y minus 8, or equals negative 8, sorry. Okay, so that ends the notes. Next thing that should happen is the sub should give you your homework, which will say review worksheet, graphing slope-intercept form at the top. There are 6 graphing problems, and then there are 6 review distance problems. And make sure you read carefully because you're not rounding to the 10th on the distance problems, you're rounding to the 100th. And that assignment is due tomorrow, but use your notes because the notes go right along with the worksheet, and you're more than welcome again to watch this video as you need to for the homework. All right, have a good day and I'll see you tomorrow.